Planning Commission dated December 19, 2019 at 4 o'clock to order. Roll call please.
Charlie Gonzalez.
Here.
Frank Katz.
Here.
Shay J. Gonzalez.
Here.
Leroy Lopez.
Here.
Fred Raznik. Steve Shepherd. Sue Martin. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, let's stand up for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
Oh, here comes Susan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here comes Susan.
For the record, I'd like to state that Commissioner Susan Martin has arrived.
Apologize over the previous meeting.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, approval agenda. Vicky, any amendments?
Mr. Chair, there are no amendments to the agenda.
Any table or withdrawn items?
No table of withdrawn items.
Okay. Approval of the minutes.
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it carries through.
Mr. Chair, abstain.
Yes.
I was not there, so I abstain.
Please on the record that Susan abstained. Okay, new business. I'm gonna have to recuse myself for on the first case, and I will turn it over to Mr. Frank Katz.
Thank you. Okay, can we have the staff report on this case?
Yes. Issue, Henry H. Carey, Revocable Trust applicant, Orlin Quintero Ortiz agent, request a variance of chapter 7, section 7.17.4.3, disturbance of 30% slopes, to allow an existing foot trail to be improved, thus creating a disturbance of approximately 3,500 square feet of slopes in excess of 30%. The site is within the Tesuque Community District overlay within the Residential Community Zoning District. The site is located at 72B Bauer Road within Commission District 1. The property consists of 9.3 acres and is in the residential community zoning district within the community of Tesuque. The applicant requests to improve approximately 350 linear feet along a private dirt foot trail from 3 feet to 6 feet in width. The current conditions of the trail are steep with a raw dirt surface on a heavily forested slope. The proposed improvements also include removing dead brush and trees bordering the existing trail in order to reduce fire risk and danger in the area. The Sustainable Land Development Code allows for disturbances of slopes in excess of 30% for driveways only. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a variance. Upon review of the applicant's proposal and visiting the site, staff has concluded that the applicant's proposal is unable to be developed under strict adherence to the terrain management regulations set forth in the SLDC. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the applicant's requested variance. If the decision of the Planning Commission is to recommend approval, staff recommends the following conditions be imposed as stated in the staff report and in accordance with Hearing Officer Virtue's recommended decision. Mr. Katz, may I enter the conditions
Please.
into the record as stated in the
Yes.
staff report? Thank you. Commissioner Member Katz, I now stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Applicant?
Hi, my name is Orlin Cadet Ortiz. I'm with the engineering firm of Design Ingenuity, and with me today is Henry Carey, just here to my left, and two of his neighbors who will speak for themselves. Oh, sorry.
Can I swear everybody in who wants to speak? So just raise your right hand and you swear or affirm that your testimony will be the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
I'm at 1421 Louisa Street, Suite E, here in town. And I will enter these photos in the record just so you can see the existing dirt trail. And there's just a concern about a lot of dead trees on the property and a desire by Mr. Carey to remove those dead trees. The property is at the very end of our road, and it actually borders the Tesuque Creek. There's a blow up of the property. Mr. Carey lives here, and the foot trail kind of starts around here and goes down to the creek. If you've seen the engineering plans, it's a pretty steep facility. It's a fairly steep road. We're not gonna footpath. We're not gonna change where the footpath is at all. We're just widening it so we can get equipment down there like mulchers and maybe pull out some materials that are dead. And we agree to all of staff's conditions, and I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions?
I've got a couple of questions. You know, I just read in some of the letter from the Tesuque Village person that they were concerned about this was going to eventually be widened to a wider trail, and then for future it was gonna be turned into a driveway. Driveways were allowed, and I have no idea if that's going up to a mesa or going down or wherever it is.
It's going down to the creek at a really steep grade. It's almost 20-25%. Would never meet driveway standards with the fire marshal. There's no intention ever for it to be used for road access or for any development down there. It's simply for actually better stewardship of the land and to remove a lot of dead trees that are a concern.
I think that was the only concern that the Tesuque Village people had, I think. And if that's the case, that would be fine. That's about the only question I had.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing, and we will hopefully now hear from two members of the public.
Should I go first?
Yes, please.
My name is Lynn Pickard, and I'm the co-chair of the Tesuque Valley Community Association. And whenever something is proposed in terms of a variance or even development in Tesuque that requires something more than staff, we're notified. And we put together a committee who goes out, listens to the project, and gives our approval or disapproval. I'm here today because usually the community is always in a position of no, let's not do this, not in my backyard, let's not do the other thing. And today I'm happy to report we're here to support. Basically, the position of the Tesuque Valley Community Association is that we have three priorities. One, to make sure that the Tesuque Community Plan, which the Board of County Commissioners adopted 6 years ago, is adhered to the extent possible. Second, we're concerned with fire danger. And third, we're concerned with flood danger. And because of the fire danger here, we're very supportive of what the landowner wants to do to mitigate the fire danger.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Frazier. I'm a neighbor. Live down at the bottom of the hill, downstream from this project, and I'm very supportive of what Henry wants to do. The treatment of the fuels is really critical. That whole canyon is potentially a fire chimney, and anything that started on that trail, which would be a human-caused fire that might start on the trail, could get started right there. So I think anything he does there is to the good. So I'm very supportive.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else want to discuss this case? In that case, the public hearing is closed. Come back to the commission. Questions, discussion? Yes.
Mr. Chair, this trail here, is it used for biking or anything like this?
Mr. Carey, could you answer that question?
The existing trail that we're proposing to widen?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
not. It's just a footpath.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? I think we're ready for a motion then. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would move case number 19-5210 Henry Carey Rebecca variance, move for approval with conditions.
been moved and second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Happy grandbaby.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Next case is case number 19-5180, Gregorio and Elizabeth Lopez setback variance.
We're still
Get a haircut. I'm gonna beat you to it.
Yeah, this is all.
Okay, we outnumber you.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Let me repeat myself again here, please. Case 19-5180, Gregorio and Elizabeth Lopez setback variance. Please go ahead and do the presentation.
Mr. Chair. Issue. Gregorio and Elizabeth Lopez, applicants, Rick Chaptrue, agent, request a variance of setback requirements of chapter 9, section 9.11.2.1. This is a highway setback from 599. This setback is within the Tres Arroyos Community District and requires a 250-foot setback from New Mexico 599. The property is located off of 72 NM 599 frontage road within Commission District 2. The property consists of 2 legal lots of record, one of which is located within the City of Santa Fe's jurisdiction, and the other is located within the Santa Fe County's jurisdiction, which Mr. and Mrs. Lopez intend on developing. Both lots combine for a total of 6.27 acres. The lot located within Santa Fe County's jurisdiction, where the proposed residence will be located, is within the residential estate zoning district within the Tres Arroyos del Ponte Community District. The applicants request to build a single-family residence within the required 250-foot setback. The applicant states that there is a poor drainage on the property that does not allow development in the northern near end of the property, and therefore requests a variance to build within the setback approximately 98 feet. The applicants also state that this request is based off of development that has already been done on adjacent properties within the area that has taken place within the now required setback. Upon review of the applicant's proposal and visiting the site, staff has concluded that the applicant's proposed variance is justifiable. To develop under strict adherence to the NM 599 setback set forth in the SLDC could cause the potential risk for future flooding by building within a drainage area. In addition, multiple residents and structures were built prior to the adoption of the SLDC that now requires this setback from NM 599. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the applicant's requested variance. If it is the decision of the Planning Commission to recommend approval, staff recommends that the conditions stated in the staff report be imposed in accordance with the hearing officer's recommendation. Mr. Chair, may I enter the conditions into the record as stated in the staff report?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I now stand for any questions.
Okay, Mr. Katz.
Yeah, I'm a little puzzled as to what the lots are here. I'm looking at,
Mr. Chair, Mr. Katz, it's a little confusing. If you go to Exhibit 2, that's probably the best illustration. It's NBD8, Exhibit 2. You can see track D3, which is within the city's jurisdiction, and track D2, which is in the county's jurisdiction. track D2 is where Mr. and Mrs. Lopez intend on building. And the drainage area will be in the rear of the property there that they want to avoid, thus pushing them closer to NM 599.
And that goes downhill, right?
Yes.
If you also look at the next page there, Mr. Traptruth, MBD9, designated that drainage area with a hatched area and also showed up where the proposed residence would be located.
Okay, thank you. What else?
Yeah, I have a question. Being that we're on the subject of of those lots, one of my questions was, I didn't realize it was in the city. But I guess one of my questions, I don't know if you can answer, probably not. Is that property gonna be usable without a variance?
We didn't either. We didn't know that part of it was in the city.
Mr. Chair, you know, this property is an anomaly. It just happened to not get annexed during the last annexation. The Lopez's did try to work with the city to get it annexed, but there's really no time frame. And we didn't want to hinder their development. They did get an approved driveway permit through NMDOT and the city. So they're gonna be accessing DOT right away, city right away, then into the county. As far as it being developed, track D3, all that permitting would be done through the city. It's very narrow, very limited, but that would ultimately be up to the city to decide if anything could be developed there. That would be outside of the county's jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you, you answered a couple of my questions. Any other questions from the commission? Anybody, anything? Okay. Let's open it up for a public hearing.
Rick, let me swear you in. And anyone who wants to speak, I'll swear you in. You have to stand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give is the truth?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, I've prepared a little bit of an exhibit for you all, which would address some of your questions. The green crosshatch area is the city lot. And as previously stated, I worked with the city quite a bit to get this into the county, because it was intended to be in the county. But when I dealt with the city engineers and the city planning department, the best answer I could get from them was that we understand we've made some mistakes in that area, but we're not gonna give you any time frame that we're gonna correct them by. So they basically invalidated a lot that these people purchased. In the future, we'd like to be able to work with the county once we get and adjust this, but even to do an adjustment, we have to deal with the city. So we're at their mercy and they are in no hurry to do anything about this. They basically said, we're not gonna give you a time frame. We don't know when we'll do it. It is our mistake. That's what we get for hiring planners instead of surveyors when we do the map for the annexation. And that's the best answer I could get. Okay, I've also cross-hatched on here where the flooding starts and kind of an area that if I was to build, I would not be putting my house in that area. Okay, and if we look on the reverse side of this, this is the same drawing, but with the aerial photo imposed. This structure here was a neighbor's structure that was actually flooded out because of the flow coming in and across this area.
I think it was 2 years ago or 3 when we got that big rain.
It's not there anymore. He removed it, he left a brand new deck he built in place, and apparently it was scavenged
All the
by
neighbors.
everybody else.
It was
But,
brand new. I mean,
So this area has a history already. This whole back area was flooded enough that he was able to, that he would not deal with it and move his home out and leave, you know, multiple dollars worth of improvements there. So that's the criteria we're going along, and I know generally we address the criteria of the request for the variance. And the first one is it's not contrary to public interest. No, we're trying to help the public by not putting a structure back there, directing more drainage onto the adjoining lots and cause an issue for the neighborhood. Because as you can tell by the topo, this whole area is gonna be prone to flooding back there. And anytime you put an interference in there, you're gonna channel more drainage into certain lots and maybe create more of a channel and erosion. So that, I believe we're working to help the public, not to contrary to the public's use. And the second criteria, the extraordinary exceptional situations, it's not extraordinary, but it's a drainage area, you know? And I've done thousands of maps with Santa Fe County. And every time I have a natural drainage on the map, they request that there be a note placed on the plat that there can be no modification of the natural flow of drainage. So once again, we're going along with what they requested and what has been requested on all subdivisions, lot splits, and probably, when you go for a building permit, they're gonna ask for the same thing. So that's why that's the extraordinary condition, is we just don't have the area without causing problems for the neighbor. And these are large lots, these are not small lots, these are huge lots, and he just wants to put a structure on there. You know, and we're still 100 feet off the right of way. And as you can see by the photo, and the photos that Nathan referenced, we have house, buildings, more buildings, and other residents, all at less than 98 feet. They're more in the 60 to 70 foot range from the frontage of the right of way. But in the history of creating 599, these structures were already grandfathered in, so we're not going contrary to that, because the appearance is gonna stay the same, because you have structures into the right of way, or not into the right of way, into the zone area, already in place on both sides. So it's not gonna create an eyesore sticking out when you come down the highway and you see all of a sudden this house sticking out away from everyone else's, because this is a situation that goes for miles along here. Because, you know, the road came after the lots in this case, you know. And then unfortunately with the planning, I mean, not unfortunately, I understand there's a need for setbacks along the highway. That doesn't take into consideration at the time, or I think this lot should have been purchased when the right-of-way acquisition went through, because they made a 70 or 60 by 900 foot lot. That, what good did it do the person to keep that lot? And then it's included in the setback by the county, so even if it had went to the county, you couldn't use that lot at all. You know, so those are some of the conditions that they have created, not the clients and not the people that develop the lots. But the course of modernization and adding highways has forced this situation. And the third requirement is the spirit of the SLDC is observed. Of course, we're trying to work with the SLDC. We're going back as far as we can reasonably go back. We're not interfering with natural drainage. Those are all what I would consider the main parts of the SLDC, sustainable. Well, if we're starting to build and forced to build into drainage areas and affect your neighbors, that's not sustainable. Let's build on the high areas and the good drainage and the good locations. And for the client's needs, that's a very important location because of their disabled daughter. So there's more conditions than just they want to put their house there. It's important for them to have their house there.
On the north part of that, there's a 25-foot utility setback also.
Right. So that
And the
encroaches
utilities are
again.
already there.
All right, I think I called the public hearing. Is anybody else part of your presentation?
No, I think these are just the owners.
Okay.
There's no one else.
Okay,
But-
any questions from staff? Frank?
Yeah, I applaud how you're developing this property, it makes total sense to me. My question is, that back portion, that's the drainage area, can that be developed? Might it be developed in the future? What is to prevent it from being?
Well, if they put their house on there, you're gonna have the regulation that they cannot, you know, you're gonna limit the number of homes that can be built on there. You know, it's probably become a single family lot from what I understand, but you know,
Can there be a guest house?
there can always be a guest house, yes.
Not in here.
Not on the drainage.
I wouldn't, no,
Well, you wouldn't need to.
I would not
Yeah,
do that.
You're just opening yourself up to a lot of problems.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have a couple questions. What is the square footage of the proposed house?
Right now, it's at 3380. But we need to get a final number from an architect, because if it gets way up there, then we kind of need to downsize and kind of, you know how that goes. So,
Another question, is there a Tres Arroyos del Poniente community or association or something?
There's nothing out there.
There's
No.
nothing, okay.
It used to be Tres Arroyos, but I don't know if they continued to have it.
No, cause I would've had to notify anyone in those
To give you
associations.
guys a more or less, there's a pretty good landmark on, I built a pretty massive fence.
Oh, I
around
know,
it.
I pass by there every day. Yeah, that DOT.
I had the pipe extra, so that's
Yeah,
why.
that DOT design cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after I built it, he told me, well, why did they make you build that? The main guy told me this.
I seen that when we built that, the first thing I spotted on the highway was that DOT culvert. Let's see, a question I have is for staff is, so this setback we're talking about, that's not from the old highway corridor ordinance thing, right? That's long gone, right?
Mr. Chair, the highway court ordinance, yeah, that's
That's
no
a whole
longer in
different thing.
effect,
Okay,
right?
okay.
I believe the Tres Arroyos and Poniente Community District overlay did take into consideration or did keep some of the setback requirements,
It
but,
sounds like it's 250, cause I remember that was a hard,
right.
Yeah.
that was okay, another question I have is, are you ever gonna try and get access from Camino Don Fidel?
You can't.
We can't.
I can't,
It's
that's a
private.
private.
It's a private road.
We tried initially, and the person that gave it to us was with the county, and he gave us there, and then they came in, talked to Nathan and a couple other people there. I can't remember the other guy's name that left, but anyways, they took it away, and that's when I went, and when I bought this property, the DOT told me, if you have problems getting accessing, just come to me, I will give you access through the frontage road.
That's all I have, any other questions?
No, the only, Chairman, the only questions I have is, I drive that road, once or twice a week, and I see a lot of houses that are close to the road, and those were all grandfathered in.
Those are grandfathered in.
And when they built that road, they just bought right away condemned property.
They condemned it, yep.
And left little pieces of property like that property that was there.
Yeah, that was a strange acquisition because the city actually purchased that property. It wasn't the highway department that did it.
Oh, I see.
A portion of 599, I'm trying to think if that area is included, but was bought by the city because they intended to do it one way or the other. And then the highway end came in and got the rest of it. But cause I've had to deal with out parcels. And I know that's what I mean about this should have been an out parcel. I've had to deal with out parcels and I went to the highway department and said, we don't own that. I said, well, you bought it, it's designated as an out parcel, well, the city owns it. And then you go to the city and they go, well, we don't own that.
That's what they told me, cause the city water line goes right in front, right here, in between the frontage road and my fence is the city main water line.
Make sure they didn't put a PRV in your property.
Mr. Chair, may I ask the applicants to introduce themselves for the record?
I'm sorry,
That's all right,
my name's Greg Lopez.
thank you,
Elizabeth Lopez.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, this is a public hearing, I'll open it up for a public hearing, anybody else here to speak? Okay, I'm gonna close the public, do you wanna speak?
Oh, hey, one other thing, I did get a neighbor that, it was a neighbor over here and he was concerned about the drainage. He goes, I don't want them to get in that drainage because we have enough problems without people putting structures in that drainage. So he was all in full support that they get the variance.
All right, nobody here for the public hearing, no other individuals, I'm gonna close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I so move. I so move, Mr. Chair. Case number 18-5180 Gregorio and Elizabeth Lopez Arias.
Is it 18 or 19?
18.
So both would be nice,
This is 18 here, 19.
Supposed to be 19.
Staff, what is it?
Is it 1951 or 18?
19.
It's 19.
Okay. Case number 19-5180 Gregorio and Elizabeth Lopez Arias be approved.
All in favor, say aye. Oh,
Sorry,
yes.
if I get clarification, did that include approval with staff conditions?
With staff recommendations, yes.
Thank you.
This is good.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Congrats, thank you very
all.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys, been a long 4 years.
Good luck out there. Okay,
Now you can use that fence.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody says, what are you gonna put there, buffalo?
no, I just had the.
Rhinoceros. Rhinos and elephants.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you all.
Danny.
See y'all
later.
thank you.
Happy holidays.
Good job.
Merry Christmas.
Okay, good, have a happy holiday.
See you to you all.
Yes.
I'm sure you're gonna be working right up to the minute.
I'm not gonna cut my hair either.
Yeah, all right.
He
I'll
said
let
you were
you
gonna tell him that.
You always do.
Okay,
Thank you.
petitions from the floor. Nothing? Okay, communications from the commission members.
Everybody, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, see you next year.
Same for me.
I second that.
All in favor?
Communications from the attorney,
There are none, Mr. Chair.
matters from non-new staff.
Mr. Chair, I just have the the meeting schedule for planning commission for 2020, so I'll hand that out to
Okay.
everybody now.
Okay, thank you.
And other than that, just happy holidays, everybody.
Okay, she's gonna give us the meeting thing, okay, do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second? We're adjourned, thank you all. Thanks for 2019, guys,
Yeah.
people.